Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Colleville, and in this one I'm going to be using the 101st Airborne Division. I'm also playing with a 4th Armoured and 1st Panzer player today, and on the opposing side we have 352nd, 12th SS and 21st Panzer. So I believe what Shadow Bear or Goth pointed out at the start of the game was they do have 2 armoured divisions and there are 2 towns, which means at least one of the players on the opposing side is going to have to play in a town with an armoured division, which isn't always ideal. However, if one was to go into a town, it would probably be the 21st Panzer, just because they would have the best fire support to actually make it happen. You could pin down an entire town with a Wehrfachwerfer from the start of the game if you played it properly. But either way, I was pretty confident in this game that there wasn't too much infantry that would really outclass my own. There isn't really anything that they can get their hands on that's better. So 352nd just have like Ostruppen and Grenadiers. The 12th SS Panzer have Panzer Grenadiers. So my airborne rifles and airborne engineers shouldn't be outclassed at all moving into this game. I'm going to put it to my point of view and we'll start to talk about some of the units that I'm putting down. You can see I've spread out these AT guns, one for the right side, one for the mid-road and one for the left. I'm going to be accompanying the one in the mid and on the right with command, because these are the ones that are most likely to bump into enemy forces coming down here. Now, one thing to think about is this road down here. A lot of people actually kind of ignore it, and it's a very easy way to like flank your opponents. You could push like a serious amount of forces down here at the start of the game, come across and down all the way down the left side, and it's generally quite undefended. You take out like the 1AT gun that's there and that's job done, you've broken through. And then all you need to have in the center is just like a couple of Panzer Grenadier squads holding up like all of the infantry that your opponent sends. That's something that I kind of want to try myself at some point, but just something to think about anyway. As for my infantry, I do have a 50 cal going towards this building. This building is really nice because it has the line of sight down the road. Can basically fire to the side of each house all the way down. So 50 cal works well in that building with its 800 meter range. Then alongside that I've got the airborne rifles, airborne engineers, command infantry of course, and at the back an M1 howitzer, which is going to be providing me with smoke throughout the game, as well as obviously straight up artillery fire. There is a couple Pathfinder squads assisting the AT guns for acquiring targets, and you can see I've dropped the last unit of command there on the right side. Now our 4th armoured player is going to be playing in the town, and we do have Goth in the centre with the 1st Panzer. So we'll wait to see exactly how they get on throughout the game. Just going to speed it up a little bit, get the deployment underway. I think with the increase in deployment timer for Steel Division, some of the timers at the start of these replays do last a very long time. You don't really realise when you're in game, but going through the replays, it becomes very apparent. So dropping off my M1 howitzer very early, and the reason I can do this is because it's got 2,000 meter range, so they're just turning that round. I'm going to be getting the smoke rounds off, as you can see on the bottom right. I'm going to start flooding that town with smoke, allowing me to get my infantry as far up as I can. And even if I bump into them, the smoke will allow me to sort of unload and control what I want to do sooner than later. My teammate Goth here also would like some smoke, so you'll see me actually retarget the M1 howitzer to provide him with some. That's to allow him to get this infantry really far up, as well as the recon and so on. Stops any AT guns coming in here and taking out his Cromwells as well. So he manages to posture quite far up. I also managed to get my Pathfinders really far up as well. His airborne engineers in a decent spot next to the command infantry and the spear troop. If I can take out the command infantry early, it does allow me to possibly make a lot of this stuff surrender. So that's really what I was going for there. Pathfinder's moving up, going to be taking out the Panzer Grenadiers. Smoke's all down, and we're looking good. So airborne rifles jumping the buildings forwards, taking out the spear troop there as well, so the recon and their command infantry is dead. Probably the two of the most important parts of their presence in this town already gone. Which means as soon as I start pinning stuff down, they're going to start surrendering. And it's a massive mistake for the opponents to make. But airborne rifles here, they haven't actually fired one of their bazookas yet. I'm going to have to manually fire that to kill the half-track there. My Pathfinders do end up surrendering, since my airborne leader was quite far behind. The Pathfinders pushed up so damn far that my airborne leader wasn't quite in range to stop that from happening. But as I do continue to push, I am making sure I move up the M3 gun and the airborne leader with me. 50 cal is also coming up, and I'm starting to absolutely obliterate these Panzer Grenadiers. Now, I do have one issue here, and that is the Panzer IV-C. This Panzer IV-C is actually a pretty nice choice for this kind of engagement, because it has the 9HE power gun, which is very strong for pinning down infantry very quickly, alongside 3 MG34s, which you can imagine suppresses very fast as well. My M3 gun's going for the kill onto the 221, and we're going to pick that up. That was good, and we're going to continue to roll forwards. I'm not going to be forcing these airborne units to fall back because they're not under fire currently. I'm going to allow them to recover their morale on the front line and get my troops further up. So 50 cal going to open up there and hit the Aufprall on this right side. The Severe Dalsey helping spot those. And we're going to be able to get those kills. So another recon squad going down. And what I was trying to do here was work out a way in which I could get up to the Panzer IV-C and take it out. Because currently it's a really annoying position because there's no like buildings that I can jump through to get close to it. So technically this is positioned probably the best it could be. It could also be pushed over here to the orchard and be in a very good position as well. But anything that comes into these tree lines or buildings now is going to get pinned down, and he's kind of stopped my push into this town for now. Although we are at a 56% territory lead thanks to Shadow Bear using a 30 cal Jeep to push a massive salient on the right. So yeah, doing really well. Also Ghosts made a lot of ground in the centre, and we're well over 50-50 across most of the map here. So doing well. I am going to be falling back the M3 gun and airborne rifles as they are going to be pressed upon by the Panzer IV. Also the airborne engineers here running all the way back. Bring up some more smoke to cover their retreat. And I'm going to be going with some standard rounds now with the M1 howitzer onto some of this infantry. I've got some reinforcements on the way, and going to be using those to basically try and push once again. Panzer IV-C. Going to be going for the shot onto the M3 gun. M3 gun misses. They managed to do some quite high morale damage there, but both those squads going to have to continue to fall back. In the meantime though, with this Panzer IV-C moving over to the right side and us being covered by smoke, I'm able to move up the airborne engineers and airborne rifles to annihilate the Panzer Grenadiers on the left side. So smoke cover doing me a lot of favours, allowing me to engage with a lot of these units, and another Panzer Grenadier is going to go down as I do catch them out, again leaving a lot of their units without command. At close range, 50 cal onto Panzer Grenadiers, not going to let them last very long, and they are going to surrender almost immediately. If you were being cut down by 50 cal fire, I'm pretty sure you'd surrender quickly as well. But the airborne engineers, they're getting a little bit too far towards a 20mm autocannon, so just going to pull them away. The 50 cal does die to the Panzer IV-C at that close range. The 9HE power plus the MG34 is going to be good enough to do a lot of damage there. Airborne engineers get close, trying to use their grenades to take out that half-track. Don't want to leave them in that building for too long though, otherwise what will happen is they'll just get overrun. But airborne engineers here going to surrender, since the airborne lead is still pretty far back. So just moving it forwards again, making sure that my airborne rifles are at least covered. Do manage to get these airborne rifles to hit the Panzer IV-C, as it was just a little bit too close to this building. We also get the weapon damage onto the mortar there, which was really, really good. And basically removes all of their mortar support until they bring in supply. But what I've done down here is actually bring in 2 more M1 howitzers, and you can see they are now providing me with fire support onto the front line. This choke point here is a really easy spot to target. Also, Bastos makes the mistake of rolling up his Panzer IV C. I'm pretty sure he saw these airborne engineers retreating and wanted to chase them down, but the airborne rifles are still in that building, and they're going to pick up another Panzer IV C kill, which is a very big deal because those Panzer IV Cs can really be a massive annoyance. But if he doesn't have the recon in front of his infantry to find out where my troops are, I'm going to be able to take out a lot of his armoured units very easily. And the M3 gun there, taking out both the half-track and the Panzer Grenadiers in that one shot. Fantastic stuff. So the 221 are going to go down as well. On this left side, just the Pathfinders and my M3 gun. We are spotting the Pak 38 on that left side, but I can just ignore this. As long as he's not moving anything from the left side, I can continue to push through the town. I've killed a lot of his forces, and I know that, so I can just continue to roll on forwards.
Sir, yes, sir.
U304 going to be aligned to my bazooka. We're going to try and take that out. Unfortunately, the bazooka actually misses, but it doesn't matter. It does force it to fall back, and considering there's no command nearby, it has no command stars on the target. Just jump the airborne rifles out to make it surrender. Now I have M22 Locusts on the way. These guys are coming up to help with all of these half-tracks. Yes, the airborne rifles can kind of do the job, but they require themselves to put themselves in like risky positions, and I don't want to force them to do that because I need the high strength of the squads to beat Panzer Grenadiers. So I'm bringing up M22s to do the job. I've just got to make sure that I take care of all of the AT guns that they could be throwing at me, and here I'm picking off the Pak 38 on the right side that's been brought in by the 352nd player. The airborne rifles getting far up, another bazooka kill onto a half-track there, and my M22 has arrived and is engaging the Panzer 35S. Now the Panzer 35S doesn't have any veterancy, and with the M22 getting so many shots on target, going to be able to pick up that kill quite nicely. So that gets rid of the tank that was in my way. And that's going to allow me to start moving forwards with my infantry and these M22s in tandem. Alongside that, I'm managing to get these airborne rifles across to push the salient over here. And what I'm waiting for now is just some smoke support to allow me to move forwards my infantry once again. So as the smoke support comes in, you can see I'm starting to move up with my units. And the idea was to just take this church, and once I've got the church, we can basically push from there. So the Pathfinder is just going to go for a house invasion onto the Panzer Grenadiers. The Panzer Grenadiers bailed from that and tried to run away, but after the Pathfinders get in there, absolutely mow them down. Going to try and get these airborne rifles up into that building as well, but the 20mm autocannon really doing some severe damage. Managed to get a weapon damage from the Pathfinders onto one of the Befehl Panzer 35s there actually, which was really nice because it meant that I could just drop a airborne rifle squad in here, ignore the Panzer 35 on the left side and just focus on the one on the right. Although the airborne rifles have something else to say about that, but the Flak 38 gonna go down as my M1 howitzer support does come in. There goes that Befehl, or that just normal Panzer 35S. It's not actually a Befehl Panzer 35S. And yeah, with that support on the right side destroyed and the howitzer fire coming in, I'm able to just chase down the last of those tanks. I stop the artillery fire to the left side soon, as it is currently pinning down my own infantry. But it's also pinned down the Panzergrens in here, and I just want to make those surrender as well. M3 gun going to take some shots at the Panzer 35. And you can see those Fusiliers actually have surrendered. They weren't Panzer Grenadiers, they were Fusiliers. And I've actually got some 50 cal Jeeps on the way. And these are mainly to possibly push salients, but just provide fire support against the massive amount of infantry that's coming in against me. I've got both the players of Bastos and the 352nd player here with his Osttruppen coming up against me, but as I said before, not much that can really outclass my infantry. Now ideally I would have had one of these Jeep 50 cals move up all the way up this road, but considering the Panzer 35 still alive. That's a pointless exercise. I am being hit from the right side by the Panzerjäger here. So that's an engagement going on between the M22 and the Panzerjäger. Panzerjäger's pretty fast fire rate. And we are going to be seeing a Ju-87 brought in to take out the M22. So as much as my M22 could have probably won the engagement against Panzerjäger, unfortunately not going to last long against Ju-87. That's for sure. Me-109 also brought over. 50 cals trying to act as some sort of pseudo AA, but just going to use them to directly engage the Osttruppen, get as close as I can. Also, here you can see that I've bumped into some Aufklärer. I try and get the kill there, but Panzerjäger finishes it off before I can get the kill. So Ju-87 again going to come in, actually going to hit my M22. I think it, well, probably missed. It's probably going to come around for a second run, but decided against it. I do have 2 more M4DDs on the way. I've got 2 M20 commands on the way, but now what I need to do is invest in AA, of course. I've also started to try and clean up this left side. I've got a 50 cal Jeep supported by the Pathfinder to try and take care of the AT gun here. I actually ended up taking it out by just using the howitzer in the end. Over on this left side there was like a 20mm AA, I think, and the Pack 38. I'm just waiting for my Pathfinders to finish off the speed troop, although at that range speed troop do a pretty nice amount of damage. So the concentration of my forces is becoming quite apparent here, and if I was up against anybody who had significant off-map, I would definitely be worried, because this is a huge target. However, I do need these M4s to be able to provide covering fire for my infantry as I move on. And you can see my airborne engineers are going to be taken out there by the overwhelming amount of infantry that I have. And bringing up these M4s just in time is basically the best I can do in this situation to try and hold all this back. My second 50 cal Jeep, actually that was on the left side, did get taken out by the speed troop. But that is going to allow the Panzergrens there, or Pathfinders, to do much more damage to the speed troop, and I'm just going to bring over the engineers to finish them on. So massive engagement now. It gets really, really intense, but I've got all of these or howitzers on different fire positions. I've got one going for this AT gun. I've got 2 like firing into all of this infantry, and it's really helping me pin them down quickly. Now they do manage to get a Panzer Grenadier squad right up in my face and take out one of the M4s, which was unfortunate. Ideally I should have seen that coming thanks to the Pathfinders, but didn't have anything that could pin them down quick enough in order to stop them getting close. And yeah, probably just should have disengaged the M4, but didn't see it coming. M20 command's going to help try and get rid of this Grenadier. If we can get rid of the command, that's really going to help us out. And these M20 commands with the 50 cals, they were definitely doing work and helping out with these pioneers and Panzer Grenadiers and so on. So that M4 using its 50 cal, 30 cal and the 5HG main gun, you can see it just does so much damage. Takes out infantry so quickly, and they are going to be bringing in Ju-87 here to try and hit my units. But I've got the Bofors finally coming up to help out. I've also got tons of 50 cals, and you can hear exactly how many of those I've got because they are so damn loud. So the M1 howitzers rolling themselves forwards. I've got another Bofors coming in here to help me out. Well, then the main thing that I'm kind of lacking at this point is substantial infantry. My infantry is definitely getting pretty low in terms of numbers, but fortunately I've got loads of sort of fire support vehicles to help me out here. Now, since these Panzergrens weren't surrendering, I just decided to put the 50 cal on target and kill them off. There's obviously like a command unit here somewhere that was stopping me from making a lot of these guys surrender, otherwise I would have. And that's what I basically tried to do with the M20 command, because I saw the Grenadier go down on the right side earlier, so it was worth a try. And yeah, worst case, I'll just get close to them and have to mow them down with a machine gun. So that's exactly what I do. On this right side, Airborne rifles find themselves engaged with the MG42 there. I think they were actually firing over to these Panzergrenadiers, but the UE-304 going to be taken out by the M4. This M22 is used, or this M4 has used all of its 50 cal ammunition now, but still decent for picking off these half tracks. And after all that they threw at me, eventually we're starting to have a breather, I guess. It was an incredibly intense fight for a good few minutes at least, as all that infantry engaged my infantry. Enemy artillery, the Lorraine coming in, taking out my M3 howitzer, and now we have a 3-star Panzer IV come in and take out my Sherman, so not really too much I could have done about that. Pushing out the other side of this town was always going to be hard, but as long as I stop them from pushing me back, then it doesn't really matter, because we're currently at a +3 on the board. That means a victory in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. We pushed really hard, took full advantage of my Phase A power. Now they are starting to do quite a lot of damage to me, but if I just bring in more infantry and consolidate, I should be able to continue to push through these orchards at least. Maybe the open ground might be a hard part to get across, but in most cases doesn't really matter, because by the time you get that far, the game's ended. So I use M20 command alongside the Airborne rifles to take out the MG in the tree line there. Bofors does find itself directly firing at the Panzergrenadiers, and then becomes the victim of a Stug 42, I believe this was, or just it's probably just a normal Stug by the looks of things. Direct hits onto the Bofors does mean that it's going to go down very quickly. I make sure to keep my other Bofors behind cover from then on. And throughout this game, I don't know if you guys have been noticing, but I thought my M1 howitzer play was just being completely on point. There we see the 12th SS player actually surrender on this right side. Shadow Bears pushed all the way through. Really, really fantastic job by Shadow Bear throughout this game, and Gove's taken full advantage of the mid, whilst the 352nd player tried to help out on the left. So all round, players on my team doing really, really well this game. Keeping up as my 101st Airborne push all the way through. Speed Troop going to go down, 220, SPW 221 goes down. Bastos is going to surrender as well. And, well, there's another surrender. Doesn't really matter though, as there is 2 minutes left on the game. Either way, +3. If we pushed it to 75%, it would be a +4. Again, just consolidating now, getting airborne rifles up here and into defensive positions. Should have probably had a command on this right side. And I used to have the M20 command, but I think it got popped by a Panzergren unit quickly. Airborne rifles going to go down there anyway. Kind of use them as a bit of, not bait, but sort of like recon going through before the healthier airborne rifles. And here I managed to pin down these Fusiliers, so I just decided to run them down. These airborne rifles are being hit by a lot of the units coming down the road, so I fall those back. Do have AT guns on the way, and they should definitely help me control the amount of forces coming down here. But with 1 minute left on the clock, I do have 352nd or 356mm off map just to push the point home and win the game. M1 howitzers still firing. I think for the majority of the game I had them firing. I actually ended up using 2 entire Jeep supplies. I mean, that's only 10,000 supply, so it's like the equivalent of like an Opel Blitz, but still. Keeping these M1 howitzers supplied throughout the entire game really, really helped me out. And you can see even here, as the reinforcements coming from the AI and they're bunching up, the amount that they suppress infantry and half-tracks is just absolutely insane. They just can't do anything, they just can't push up whatsoever. And the M1 gun's just getting free kills along the way. So here comes the off-map, getting into position. I know that the AI is going to clump up, so that's why I brought in the off-map, just to blow the crap out of them. And we finally hit the +4 just as we hit the end of the game. And that is a total victory after 21 minutes and 27 seconds. So I think it was mainly sort of a division disparity, as well as just myself knowing how aggressive I could have been into any of the matchups that I came up against. So I really took advantage of that in the town with the 101st, and just used the smoke cover from the M1 howitzers to get as close as I wanted to be. And it really worked out well in the end. Shadow Bear, fantastic KD on the right side with the 4th Armoured, 2,050 kills to 560 losses. Goaf in the mid, maybe not as good KD, but still definitely provided a lot of presence throughout this game. Myself with the 1,555 kills to 905 losses. Now when it comes to kills, you can see how well one of the airborne rifles did, taking out Panzergrenadier Speertroop, another Panzergrenadier, the UA304 half-tracks, the Panzer 35S, we got the Flak 38 in there. This airborne M3 gun took out a few of these half-tracks for me, and the SPW221, so definitely paid itself off. All these infantry squads getting 2-for-1 kills, which is great, and another airborne rifles there overperforming with their bazooka, taking out both the Panzer IV Cs the early game. Another M3 gun paying itself off by getting the Panzer 35 kill, M1 howitzer getting a few kills for itself there as well. And just in general, those M1 howitzers, they don't tend to pick up like loads of kills, but you saw how quickly they can pin things down. I've really started to use them a lot with the M1 with the 101st, because I've played against them so many times and just been frustrated by them, and I've realised how strong they actually are. M4 came in, picked up plenty of infantry kills for us. Didn't really pay itself off very well, but decent fire support for that point in the game. Probably shouldn't have lost the other M4 as easily, because it definitely would have helped out a lot. M20 commands come in, get their own kills as well, and the M1 gun there at the end taking out that Panzer IV-G that killed my M4, so I managed to get revenge. But that's going to be it for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little showcase of the 101st after me showing off the updated battle group overview. But that's all for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.